Well, it's time once again to go out to the West Coast, the left part of the country, and talk to our old friend Michael Snyder to find out what's happening in movies with his weekly Culture Blast. Hello, Michael.
Well, howdy, Alex, and hello, America. I'm back from overseas and still reeling from my final dinner in Germany. I had the three S's. I had schnitzel, spätzle, and spargel. It was delicious.
Okay.
Man, seriously, those Germans know how to eat, cholesterol, the starch, red meat. I'd probably be dead already if I lived there year in and year out.
Right.
But I did have a chance while over there to see a movie that opened 2 weeks before it opened in the States, and that's The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mentioned that last show, and I found it very odd, and then I thought about it, and it occurs to me, and I think you may be in agreement, you may have said something to this effect, maybe the studios are just making sure they have as much box office cash as possible before the American opening in case of bombs. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it could be either that or they feel that there's that the international market is certainly as huge a market as the United States, especially when you get to a country like China where these things are being released now. So, maybe it's a good thing to do it there first, and also to get the word of mouth so that by the time it gets over here, they can say, look how well it's been doing in the rest of the world.
Well, if the word of mouth was in German, it would be Nein danke, because despite me being, Mr. Superhero lover and all that, and enjoying the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and appreciating Andrew Garfield in the role in the first movie, although really, he's a senior in high school. In what weird geriatric high school is that? I found this movie to be very disappointing, clumsily written. Again, Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, the teenage boy who's bitten by a radioactive spider and gets all these powers. I thought he was great. I thought Emma Stone as the love of his life, Gwen Stacy, was great. Their relationship was great, but the plot was questionable, jammed with villains and with a backstory that suggests that this wasn't a weird random occurrence in Peter Parker's life that he then had to come to grips with, as it is in the original story. But in fact, all of this was kind of weirdly manipulated by his late father, a scientist in this iteration, as opposed to a CIA agent or whatever he was in the comic books. Mm-hmm. It kind of takes, it takes free will out of the equation in a way, and that diminishes the character a bit. But again, Andrew Garfield, really good. Emma Stone, really good, and they come to grips with the fact that her father died in the first movie, the police captain who told Spider-Man to stay away from his daughter. Look, the real problem in this film, overloaded with villains, including a miscast Jamie Foxx as Electro, a super nerd that looks like he studied at the nutty Professor Jerry Lewis School of Acting, and then this guy turns into Electro because of an accident at Oscorp. And then you have the Green Goblin character. Harry is a friend of Peter Parker's who comes back after many years. And the motivations are very, very clumsy. The dialogue is pretty weak in a lot of this. And speaking of villains, there's a villain in the Spider-Man comics called the Rhino, herein played by Paul Giamatti as little more than a cameo. And it's really terrible. Over-the-top, clumsy comedy. The actor, who is oftentimes the best thing in the movies he appears in, like Saving Mr. Banks. I loved him in that thing as the chauffeur who drives the Emma Thompson character around. In this thing, it's just embarrassing. Effects are great, but you know as well as I do that effects are just dressing in a lot of cases, and dressing on a pig doesn't change a pig from being a pig. Mm-hmm. Were there moments I liked? Yeah. Mark Webb directed this thing. He was one of the directors of the director of 500 Days of Summer, a movie I really love. Mm-hmm. He directed the first of these Andrew Garfield ones, and I liked that one to an extent, although, this disappointed me. Clumsy stuff, and written, by the way, and maybe this is telling, written by the guys who screwed up Star Trek Into Darkness, Alex Kurtzman and Roberta Orci, who I now think of as franchise killers. Anyway, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I say wait for 3, and that might even be worse. I don't know. You want something good?
Please.
Belle. I don't know if you know about Belle, but Belle is a docudrama inspired by a true story, and I know that kind of makes my eyes glaze over too, but it's an issue-oriented biography of an 18th century illegitimate mixed-race daughter of an English Royal Naval Admiral, and her name was Dido Elizabeth Bell. And this movie has all the polish and romance and period style of like a Merchant Ivory movie of a Jane Austen novel, but it really, really crackles. I really, really was impressed with this film. Dido's West Indian mother dies, and her father, who has to go to sea, leaves her with her snooty great uncle and his wife at their elegant mansion. And there she forges a bond with her cousin, who's also in similar straits. And she grows up to be the beautiful British actress Gugu Mbatha Raw. Actually, she grows up to be Dido, but she's played by this great young actress who really makes a case for stardom in this film. And all the while, her uncle, it turns out, is a very significant judge, England's Lord Chief Justice, and he's supposed to rule on cases about slavery and human trafficking. And when she is sort of diminished by her half West Indian heritage in high society, despite being left all this money by her dad, and is still like a possible marriage for many of the financially strapped aristocratic guys who are buzzing around. You get a real wonderful bit of tension and social commentary. I just was very impressed with the film. I was caught up in the story. I liked that it dealt with some really important issues, and Mbatha Raw is just elegant and wonderful. Playing her great uncle, you've got the terrific actor, a guy who I always like, Tom Wilkinson. He plays Lord Mansfield. Emily Watson is Lady Mansfield. Matthew Good plays her dad. It's a pretty terrific cast. Miranda Richardson plays this vicious aristocrat who wants to marry off her sons to someone with wealth. Tom Felton, by the way, who plays the scummy Draco in the Harry Potter films, plays one of the sons, a real sniveler. I really was impressed with this film, and I thought, it's rare that I care about these costume dramas. And Ama Asante directed this film, and this is maybe her second or third movie, and I just thought, on all fronts, this is a successful piece of work. Belle, recommended. One more movie for the week, Blue Ruin. I know you like film noir when it's well done, Alex. I can tell that that's the case. Mm-hmm. And this is a wonderfully dark and brutal story about a guy who wants revenge. A guy who's basically homeless at the very beginning of the film, and it turns out he's homeless because his parents were killed. And he decides that he's going to exact revenge on the guy who somehow plea bargained his way out of jail, and that he feels is responsible for the death of the pater familia and the mater. And I got to say, this is right out of Hatfields and McCoy's in terms of two families pitted against one another. But I really thought it was a wonderful film. Not familiar with the actor who played Dwight, the lead character, Macon Blair. Wonderful. And then Amy Hargraves is in this as his sister. It's written and directed by a guy named Jeremy Saulnier. And the only familiar cast member, oddly enough, is Eve Plum from the old Partridge Family. Or was that from the Brady Bunch? She was in the Brady Bunch. I hated both shows. But anyway, she's in this playing a scumbag daughter of the potential victim of this guy's revenge plot. It was just rocking, and it was probably made on a very low budget, but I suggest that people seek out Blue Ruin. I'm sure you can probably get it on demand. And Belle and Blue Ruin, very cool. Spider-Man, not so much.
So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man, I've been traveling. I've been over in, Europa.
We realize that. You've emphasized that enough and rubbed our faces in it.
Hey! I didn't force you to eat Spätzle, though, did I?
It's Spätzle.
Whatever.
Spätzle is good. Spätzle is good. I love Spätzle.
Hey, what did you think of? Have you watched Penny Dreadful yet? I hear you can get it on demand.
Yes, I have.
And
I think it's okay. It's not great. It needs. Maybe I'll stick around for a couple more episodes. It was good, okay, but it wasn't great.
Neo-goth kind of combination of Frankenstein, Dracula, picture of Dorian Gray, all these other different kind of literary tropes. Is that right? With the great Ava Green?
Not so far. No, just basically vampires, a cowboy, and Victor Frankenstein.
Well, there you go. Well, who doesn't love Victor Frankenstein?
And they're all looking for Timothy Dalton's daughter, who it's thought maybe has become a vampire or was stolen by vampires or whatever. So it's on demand. It's Showtime on demand. It doesn't start till the 11th, but they're previewing it and showing it ahead of time, I guess, to get some kind of word of mouth. It's a beautifully done program. It's produced by Sam Mendes and John Logan, who are both responsible for Skyfall. Among other things. Also, John Logan did Hugo and a lot of other pictures, and of course, Sam Mendes, American Beauty, and Road to Redemption. So, it has a good pedigree, and the show looks gorgeous, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't overwhelmed by it.
Well, interesting that there's no degree of Bond here. Ava Green playing a Bond girl in Casino Royale. Timothy Dalton having played James Bond, but not in the same film. Kind of cool. I do want to bring In the Flesh to people's attention, Series 2 of the British TV program about the aftermath of a zombie apocalypse in England, when the zombies are actually kind of cured, brought back to some degree of humanity.
Yeah.
I thought the first 3 episodes of this, which constituted basically its first season, were great.
Is it available here?
It will be on BBC America very shortly.
Well, then we shouldn't be reviewing it yet, should we?
Well, I haven't seen it. I just want to bring it to people's attention. The first series has played already. This is
I
series
started
2.
watching it, and then I somehow, for some reason, didn't get into it. I don't know why. I didn't remember it as being particularly bad. I just didn't find it particularly great.
The political subtext in the first one is apparently fleshed out, pardon the expression, in the second one as well.
Yeah. But anyway, that's some TV watching. That's some movie watching, all courtesy of our friend Michael Snyder. Tell them where they can get a hold of you, Michael.
Check in with me and follow me on Twitter @Culture Blaster. And by all means, look up the Michael Snyder's Culture Blast Facebook page and, pay attention. We got good stuff in store.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
See you next week.